Hello and welcome, I'm Kathu and this is one of my rare videos in English. I will be prefacing this video by saying that I do publish a lot on this topic in French, so there's always the possibility to go and see my other videos on that topic in French with the automatic subtitles in English, which are getting better, I must say, pretty satisfying. Et pour les francophones, donc sachez que je parle d'un sujet dont je parle souvent en français, donc vous pouvez aussi aller regarder d'autres vidéos si vous avez la flemme d'essayer de comprendre mon anglais bizarre. Okay, so we are moving on exclusively in English. This is a VR and also totally the opposite of a VR, so let me explain. I watched Marlene Teresa's video called Everydaycarrytarot, and it's also a tag, and I was very inspired by it. But actually, I carry a tarot in my bag every day, but I don't have, and I don't intend to have, an everyday carry tarot deck, right? So I will explain my process for picking a different deck every day as I go out and why, and you know, there's a lot of reflection, a lot of thoughts that goes into it. I very much enjoyed Marlene's video and it definitely prompted me to make one because I thought this is a topic that I'm so very passionate about, but I never make videos in English about it. And I loved how in her video she kept talking about her criteria for choosing one or several decks that would be perfect multi-purpose decks that she would carry in her bag every day as she goes out. So I will just jump on that. So in this sense, it's definitely a VR, and talk about my own criteria. And as I do so, I'm also going to be talking about my practice, my tarot practice, which is very much a tarot practice that consists in taking my decks outside. There's no deck that is too beautiful, too precious, too rare to just sit on a shelf. All of my decks, they deserve to be going outside, to become alive. And for me, it's really kind of bringing animation to them and meaning to our relationship, and to build a relationship with a tarot deck is not by keeping it on a beautiful shelf or a beautiful tarot bag, although I do have a lot of beautiful tarot bags, or keeping it on my bedside or anything. No, it's really like it needs to go in the earth, in the dirt, even maybe to sit between the flowers. It's like it's charging my decks and it's making it more vibrant, and the way that it will react to the ecosystem, the multiple ecosystems that I'm part of, is terribly important for me to understand my decks and understand the meanings of the cards in a specific deck, but also in general. It's not just tarot that teaches me about life and all of its mystery, but also not so many mysteries, but the magic of everyday life. It's also going to meet the place, and so many places actually, and the spirit of the place, the genius, with a tarot deck that is going to make more meaning. It's a collaboration, it's a co-creation tarot, and it's not between me and a tarot deck only, it's between me and my tarot decks and my ecosystems and my the multiple beings, embodied or not, that I'm in a relationship with, and or not even in a relationship, but that I share common space with one way or another. See what I mean? Not so much? Okay, it's all right. You're gonna get it when I start to explain my criteria. It's a kind of a curse and a luxury and a blessing to be able to choose a different deck to go out with every day, because I have time for that and I have space for it, because of my chronic illness. I'm disabled, so I don't work at the moment, and not sure I will be able to work in sewing. Don't eat flower, please. It was supposed to be lovely here. Oh God. So I was saying, because I'm disabled and I live in a land with a pretty decent social security system. Certainly not perfect, but, or you would call it maybe health insurance or whatever it is in your country. But it means that even though I'm not, you know, it's not that I'm rich, you know, I don't have a lot of money and every day is complicated, but I'm not working. I'm home and I can also spend time whenever I have enough spoons, when I'm not too tired, when I'm not in too much pain, when I have the focus, when I'm not having a huge brain fog, which is clearly most of the time. But today my card of the day is the Magician, so I know I can trust them to help me hear a clear, focused mind. Fingers crossed, right? So yeah, that means that it's not like, oh, I'm preparing my bag every morning and I can't find the time to decide what deck to come with me, what deck is going to come with me and everything. No, I can really take time for the process of choosing a deck whenever I need to. Well, it's complicated. Life is very complicated when you're just living from your disability status, kind of. It's not really a disability status, but anyway, for my chronic illness, right? But there are so many advantages as well. Like I don't work, so I can take the time to choose my decks. I have time for my spiritual practice, even though it's kind of narrow because, you know, I don't have the spoons to be like as witchy or magical as I would wish to. Or I always have to adjust my practices and everything to my health, but still, speaking about that, I do love to walk and hike. So I spend a lot of time outside walking, exercising because it's really important for my tissues with my genetic condition, which is the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and I cannot go out without a deck. It's very much part of what I do. We've had a very long winter. It started to get rainy end October and it's only starting now to get a bit better and that I can go back outside with my deck. So that's the reason why I'm so enthusiastic about this tag, because I'm bringing my decks back to nature. They don't have to stay here with me at my table for my daily pools and so on, which are lovely though, but not enough for me. So that would be the background, my background, to explain to you why I don't necessarily need multi-purpose deck that can sit in my bag. And also because every day, or not every day, I'm not going out every day, but every time I go out with my decks and with a special attention, it's potentially, not all the time, but it's potentially a new adventure. So I need a deck for every new adventure. Well, I'm not very adventurous, but I'm not adventurous. It's a word that so do not fit me at all. But anyway. There is a disclaimer, however, that I would like to place here, and that I did on my last video on the topic in French, because I have a playlist. It's called the Tarot en Balade. The Tarot en Balade is whenever I'm taking my decks for a walk, or, I mean, it would be something like wandering with tarot or something like that. I don't know. I like hikes rather than wandering. I'm not a wandering person. I'm definitely not adventurous. I'm telling you, I like things to be prepared. Plans, but I'm open for lovely meetings along the way, birds, plants, rivers, and so on. The disclaimer is, it's all going to sound like so much fun, like, oh, it's happening all the time and it's so much, there's so much going on, and I'm bringing my deck there, and then I write this thing, and then I have this message, and then all of it makes sense, and the life is so full of synchronicity and wonder, and well, yeah, right, it doesn't happen all the time, right? I'm telling you the lovely story of when everything falls into place and everything is magical, but a lot of the time I have my decks with me when I go out and nothing happens, or it's rainy and I can take them out, or I have them with me but I'm not inspired, I'm not feeling it, I'm not in the mood for that, I'm not in whatever, I'm not open or conscious enough of the ecosystems, or that there are so many factors to take into consideration. And no, it's not a constant state of miracle and happiness and flow, certainly not. But I'm gonna be speaking more of what happens ideally. But please be aware that I want people to be aware that it's not like this is the bar and it's like that all the time and you have to reach it, or your tarot practice is boring, or something like that. You know, like obviously it's not like that all the time. The Everyday Carry Tarot tag is inspired by your Everyday Tarot, Everyday Carry bag or things like that. So I have to show you my bag. It's a backpack because, I mean, chronic pain. What other kind of bags could I be using? Maybe I could be using something else. But for me, for my specific needs, it's what I need. So, kind of things that I have: menstrual protection, of course, something to wash my hands, a lot of tissues, things for my hair. I'm showing you that, but I have room. It's like, oh, those are the things that I find on the ground. It was in the forest. I think it's from a game for kids. And sometimes I do take some rubbish with me, so that's not to let it in the forest or on the way, and I need to put it in the litter bin, whatever, in the bin, and I don't do it, so it's still in my bag. I have things like cards, ID cards, bank cards, ear things, pills, and painkillers, and some creams that I might need for my skin or everything, because I'm obviously very sensitive. So that's what I had with me when I went for a walk along the river and in the wood yesterday. That's my scarf. You want it, Sawin? You can have it. I have a kiwi kind of things I can sit on if the benches are too moist, humid. I don't know, whatever. Oh, several pairs of socks, because that's what you need. Some nuts, just in case I need to eat. And here is a good example of something that is often on my bag when the weather allows for it. It's a notebook. Let me check that it's safe. Oh, this is, no. What's that? Oh, it's a tarot reading that I did for someone else. Okay. This is some crap that I bought for preparing a video, and yeah. Okay. Very smooth and easy to write on, and also there's some cardboard there, so it's easy if I don't have a table to write on it. So we are approaching the tarot related territory now. So let me show you here what else I usually have in my bag. Not all the time, but now that it's getting better, well, it's been raining all day, but I can expect the weather to be better. I will be carrying this kind of things in my bag. A notebook, very, very, very light, very light. It's a very small one, but it's perfect because you must all the time, and also when picking the decks, obviously, but make sure that you're not going to be in pain. So that's, yeah. I use you to mean me. I mean, I don't know if you do that so much in English. People do that so much in English. I do that. Must come from French, or maybe even Belgian French. Sometimes I use something a bit more solid, but that's my grimoire kind of notebook, so I don't take it with me all the time. Those were pigeons, Sawin. They're lovely, right? I told you I gave her my scarf. Okay. When I need protection for all of those things, and also my decks, I use this kind of, I don't know how to call that in English, but bags that my wife makes for me. Lovely wife. And there's doublure, I don't remember the name, lining, something like that, in denim, so it's super good protection for your stuff. The one that I use at the moment, the cat wants to go into the scarf. The one I use at the moment is this one. Pretty witchy, right? And it can also make a very good cloth for your tarot reading if you're going into a wood or something where the benches are soaked and too wet. Wet was the word I was looking for earlier. How come? How weird. Anyway, and this as well. So here is the kind of, oh, I have, let me check. I have potential offerings. So those are rosebuds. This would fit perfectly into it, along with 1 or 2 or maybe 3 tarot decks, depending on the tarot size. And I have as well a bit of everything when it comes to things to write with. So I would always select things before I go out, but different kind of things that I can easily write with my EDS. And with EDS, sometimes I really need my pain or my instability, joint instability is too bad, so I need to be able to find something that is going to match my needs at special moments. So that's why I have so many. And clearly last time I put them in my bag, I had a color theme. So I might have other things in my bag, like headphones or whatever is needed according to the situation. I might also have my washi tapes in it if I need it. It depends. Sometimes I'm very fancy, sometimes I'm very more responsible or more reasonable. It depends. If I know that I'm going to a place where I'm going to walk a lot, but also there are a lot of nice little cafes or tea rooms along the way. I'm going to spend a lot of time sitting comfortably and being able to work on the table and write a lot. Of course, I'm going to be bringing more. I might even bring some crystals, yeah, the washi tapes or things like that. It depends what I'm going to do. At the moment, it's pretty like low key. I'm just in the middle of the forest. Everything is muddy and there's no place to do much. So I'm focusing mainly on my decks and something to write if it's possible. I could be writing on my phone, but that's more complicated for me. It creates a lot of pain and I don't need back pain here if I'm walking. I'm walking to avoid them, so why be on my phone and have them? And then I have to pick up my decks. I'm going to use the ones that are on my tray at the moment as examples because they are the decks that I use the most at the moment or I intend to use. So it's going to be a fair example of what is going on. Sometimes I feel called to bring another deck from the shelves, but usually this selection here is a fair selection to pick up from whenever I'm going out. Okay, back to the criteria. Obviously, among the criteria to take into consideration, you have the very important matter of size, weight, texture, how the deck shuffles, and so on. For that specific issue, there are some pros and cons to every type of deck. Like a mini pocket deck would be useful for this and this and this reason, like it's light, for example. But the cons, it's sometimes very hard to shuffle, or it's small, but but big, and in a way it doesn't make it so easy to work with. And if there's a card that's caught by the wind or me being so clumsy because of my proprioception and everything, so it's kind of dangerous. Yes, it's light, it's nice, but isn't it sort of too light for me with my proprioception? I also need to feel what I have in my hands. I'd say that the mini gentle tarot is a fine example. It's really mini, but it's nice. It just fits perfectly in my tiny hands. But there's a bit of a slippery aspect to the cards that makes it easy to lose a card on the way. And yes, it's possible to overhand shuffle it in your hands like that, but because the cards are quite reactive, it can be dangerous, especially if it's windy or you have a lot of other things, you know, that you have to carry, and it can become, yeah, too much. Oh, other things I have in my bag all the time, of course, a bottle or two. So that's a typical example, because it's so light, it's so nice, and sometimes it's all I can carry. A lot of the time it's all I can carry. And it's also nice because it fits perfectly in a pocket. And it's small enough in your pocket that even if it rains, it's not gonna get soaked. So that's nice, but it's not always the best. I have to say that I'm keeping my decks in my Butch's bag. So she hand sews all of those lovely bags. It's excellent protection because there's always, and I still don't know what the word is, a lining, you know, like a second layer inside. So the decks are very well protected in those. I wouldn't carry them in a bag, in a box. Even the tin boxes, they don't work for me, because let's take an example. Well, this box is empty, but anyway, it's very vintagey. But the deck would tend to, you know, move inside of it, which would potentially, it's not the right deck. Is it going to fit? Let me show you just for an example. It could damage the corners, or also gets a layer of, see, not easy, a certain level of wearing on the edges. It's not that easy. I believe that it's good to have a good bag for a pouch for my decks, but preferably not something like this, which is like no protection at all. But yeah, something like that. This one is in fabric that is even better, because it's supposed to be protecting the deck from the rain as well. How great is that? Especially now, if I go somewhere, I cannot be 100% sure that my deck is not going to get wet. So that's nice, because then, you know, I can just put this on a table or on a bench and keep the cards on it just like that as protection. Well, that's another fine example. I just got this deck from my friend Hada. It's a French oracle deck. It's called Les Clés du Destin, and I was very worried that it would be too big. Yes, it's big, but it's easy for me to get the consciousness of the weight of what is in my hand, so it's easier. And yet it is not very heavy. It's fine, it's good cardstock, but you know, oh gosh, I'm getting tired. I'm gonna need to take a break because my English is not here anymore. Yeah, it's actually pretty good because it's a 52 card deck, but it's not too heavy. Last time, no, I didn't take it in my pocket. I haven't tried if it fits just in a pocket yet. We'll see, but I find it nice. Oracle decks are not a must for me. It's more tarot decks, but if I had to go out with it, I would regard it as something like, yeah, it's big, but it's also easy for so many other reasons. I also have decks that are way too big, but I do take them anyway, because it's not so much, it's not just about these practicality points. There are so many other criteria. This is the Tarot Ultra-Violet, and big, like the size is not a problem, but the fact that it is heavy and such a chunky deck is not easy at all. But at the same time, it has already had some water on it and everything, and it keeps on living its pretty good life, so that's also a plus point. And now, because it's a winter, I can carry them in my pockets, whether my legging pockets or my jacket pockets, because I wouldn't have such a heavy deck in my bag. That's really annoying, and it limits the kind of like supplies that I can take with me, and I would say that water is still more important than a tarot deck when I go for a walk, especially if I'm hiking for more than 10 kilometers or something. But look at that, it's a deck that wants to go on a walk. It's an eco-feminist, queer, non-binary deck, and I'm working with it a lot. This winter, we're having a great relationship. I'm feeling it, and I'm feeling it because I feel how it works with the place, with the spirit of the place, with all the places that I go to. So I cannot just let the weight prevent me from taking it. So yeah, as you see, I have criteria, and then I have other things, which is which deck is going to work for my needs today, but not just my needs, but where I'm going to and why and so on. Sometimes when I have big cards like that, I can just put the cards that I'm working with for whatever reason and put them in the notebook and there in the protection, and bring only a few cards with me. If I need to, then I'm gonna take a lighter deck with me, but I'm still gonna have the cards with me, because that's one of the other things that maybe I should explain about my practice. It's sometimes I have a card like in my daily draw, but I also in my daily cards I might have something like an invitation for the day, and I had that it's a fine example with a card in here. And sometimes, oh, let's not take an example because it's never going to work. I'm not going to find the thing. But whatever card I have, it makes me say like, well, bad example, but here, oh, let's go to the museum. Obviously, I'm going to take this deck, or at least this card, with me to the museum if the invitation of the day is this card and it inspires me to go somewhere. That's obvious. That's one of the things that happen for me. And also, if it's a day that I know I have the spoons to go out, and also the need to go out for my tissues and my body and everything, then I might, and I often do it, draw a card before going out. Like, where shall I go? Where am I being invited? What is calling me today? What am I going to go and see? And it might be, yeah, a museum or city center to visit or something, but it might also be this is this wood, or this is this hill. And with time, I come to have a better understanding of what is shown in the card and to connect it with a place. Or it might be, oh, cemetery. I love cemeteries. And there are so many factors, so many things that I read into the cards that can invite me to go somewhere. It might be the card, like 5 of Cups, I don't know, or it might be an element of the card in this specific deck, like, ooh, I always forget the name in English, un faucon. Whatever, un faucon. And then, because I know that there are faucons, like for example, faucon pilgrim, somewhere in Brussels, so I'm going to go there where I know there's a chance to spot them. Maybe not, but also maybe it's a call from this place. Or here I would say, if I have that, the most chance I have to see birds of prey would be to go to that wood or something like that, you know. But also here in another instance, the King of Swords might be inviting me to go to the library or to the bookshop or to a museum or to a place where I can learn more about the history of the place, or to go to a place that I know about the history, but I'm invited to go learn something else, or to go to a place where I can write about the history of this place, or, you know, all those kind of things. I mean, there are so many levels of how I interpret a card in relationship to where I'm going to go. But I usually, not every day, but on a day that I plan to go out, I draw a card, an indication before going out. Sometimes it's just not going to help me choose where I'm going, and sometimes it's just going to be a point of focus for the walk. And sometimes the synchronicity happen and it's magical. Sometimes it's also, oh, I'm going to be reflecting on this card, or this is an oracle deck that I just got. But it's a good oracle to help you choose where to go or to connect with the spirit of the place. Well, okay, so there's this element of spirits of the place. This is the Woodland Wardens and stuff like that. Okay, that's a good lesson to get from your decks, right? Really cool way to work with it. But there's also the thing, I wouldn't say so much with oracle, but more with tarot. So let me pick a tarot deck. Here, tarot ramures étranges. Obviously, the names are going to be below. It might be that I draw a card and that I'm gonna, like here, justice, enjoy my walk, to be thinking about this card, about its meaning, about its message to me at this moment, and things like that. And I might record something on my phone or write something about this card and take pictures, take lovely pictures of the card in its environment. I'm going to show you, I'm just going to show you now something that happens with this deck, for example, this week. Ta-da! Because yes, I love to take pretty pictures of my decks when they seem to thrive, to take the light or the shades of a special place and to take more meaning in a special place. And it's an inspiration for me. It's an inspiration to work with the deck, an inspiration to work with tarot. And the meaning of the card is always going to change as you observe the way that it interacts with nature. But this is something that I'm probably going to be speaking of later because I don't have any space on my phone, so I have to stop. I'm back, it is dark now, and I'm getting really tired. I've been filming videos all day, which is a miracle for me. I'm actually not that good, but I can feel that my concentration and my overall state is not optimal right now, but I want to give it a try because I would like to have a video of it today. I know that if I'm waiting, it's not going to be clearer. So anyway, I think I was talking about the magic that happens when a card really resonates with the place you're with, like the Seven of Pentacles. I think I integrated into the video from in the woods with the little sprouts and along all the I'm not going to know the name of the flowers. So anyway, the flowers sprouting quietly, slowly from the ground. It was wonderful. And for this specific case, it's a card that I drew there. And it was really nice because it's a deck that I bought specifically for working with the energies of the woods, of the forest, and in the woods. So I wasn't sure it was going to work. I usually don't use decks that way. I don't intend a deck to work in a specific setting, but I see with the decks that I have where and when they work best with a place, an energy, an entity, and so on and so forth. There are no rules. Basically, sometimes I go on my walk because of certain cards, and sometimes I draw the cards there to feel the energy of a place. Sometimes I do just enjoy the fact that it's a nice place, it's full of energy, it's vibrant, and I will do another kind of reading there. But most of the time it's really, yeah, it's the co-creation with the place, so it is always an element of integrating it into the reading, or what it has, how it can illuminate something about a specific card, for example. It sounds vague, right? If you see what I do on my blog, for example, or what I used to do on Instagram, or what I do usually in my videos, I think you get a better understanding of the kind of things that I like to do. And also in some of my videos where I'm wandering around with the tarot and seeing the echoes of the cards in the place. For example, I have a video like that in Brussels. I have one in a museum in the area as well. It's more like, oh my God, this symbol on this building or in this painting, it makes me think so literally of this card, because of course the medieval imagery and so on. And that's also something that's very strong. Or I don't know, I see a card and I see a plant and it's a kind of a trumpet kind of plant, and it makes me think of the Judgment card. Then many things like that, that just, there's just, I don't like the words, enlightening, illuminating, I don't like those lighting words. This just bring more depth in my tarot practice, because I can see how the cards is vast, all of the realm that it can actually touch, that one single card can touch, and what tarot can help us as a connection tool, as an artistic prompt, as I don't know. I'm too tired to try and find words, so we're gonna move on. The question of a multi-purpose or an all-rounder deck versus a deck that I have for specific use, it's not really something that really works for me. Like, I don't have a plant deck because I'm going to a place where there are plants. Plants are everywhere. And so often I feel stuck if I'm going to, you know, like, you want to have a connection with a plant or something. You take this deck, for example. It's an oracle deck. I have the herb crafters there as well, but I'm not going to take the tarot now. And so I want to know something from this plant. And I draw the card from another plant. How is it going to help me? You know, I sometimes I just lack the vastness, as I was saying, of tarot, because it helps. Tarot can always work in any situation, and any tarot deck can work in any situation. Of course, there are decks that are very limited in their topics, like, for example, the herb crafters, very botanical, herbology centered. But a lot of decks, and especially the multi-purpose deck, they will work in any case. And then it's more about how the richness of our relationship is going to bring something as well, or how it resonates with the place. And I can be in my brain and think, oh, this deck is going to work superbly over there, then be there and it's like, no, not quite. And eventually I go there with another deck, and I have absolutely no expectations, and it's just like, whoa, glitter everywhere, whoa. So there are no rules, but I try not to limit myself. I know that it's from the overconsumption capitalist kind of mindset that we have to feel called to have decks for specific things. But in the practice of working with my collection, and I have decks for specific purpose, but I don't see it working that in such a framed way as capitalism will have us believe. And that's one of the wonderful things about tarot. Obviously, I'm pretty sure I wanted to say something else about that, but anyway. How I choose a deck, specific or multi-purpose, is more connecting to the context, like for example the season, or whether my walk is also going to be a sort of pilgrimage of historical quest or something like that, or just something where I need to relax and recharge and forget about the world, and things like that are going to influence the kind of decks I'm going to reach for, obviously, and where I am going as well. Most of the time I know where I'm going, and it's gonna affect what I'm taking. If I'm going to, for reasons that are connected to the energy of the place and the energy of the walk or pilgrimage or visit or something, but also for practical reasons. And then another, and I'm going to talk about the practical reasons right in a minute. Right now, I also want to say that my relationship with the deck, what sort of relationship we have built, the deck and I, is going to influence a lot of my choice. And a deck that might be used for a specific, more specific context at a point in my life is actually going to resonate in another one for some sort of weird reason, just because of the relationship we are constantly building. And I'm not saying that as, oh, I'm personifying my decks, but I'm saying that from an animistic perspective, like we are interacting. Sometimes I personify my deck, sometimes I'm like, oh, Joe, it's just here is some deck, some paper thing, and sometimes they are really animated and we are working together. There are no rules either for that. Okay, practical things I wanted to say. Yeah, if I'm going to the city and it's going to be a long day, I'm going to be affected by the crowd, by the cobbles to walk on, and by the noise of a city and all of these kind of things, I'm going to reach a level of overwhelm very quickly, and of pain and everything that goes with my EDS. And in this case, it's easier for me to have a multi-purpose deck, preferably an edition that is not too heavy, but it's not so much about the size, it's more about the weight, really. Like, I wanted to show the Fifth Spirit Tarot. I have the indie edition. It's a linen deck, and it's extremely light. So a lightweight deck is always going to be something that helps. Also, I have older decks that are certainly not 350 GMT or something. How do you say that? I don't never remember. Well, the cardstock is not that. And I still don't remember the word that I'm looking for. So let's take, for example, the Holler Tarot deck. Out of print, don't care, no, never too precious. I can take them away with me. I'll be extra careful. And if something happens, it would have been a long, well-lived life for this deck, okay? I'm taking the risk. And yeah, old deck, but very light, solid, obviously, because I'm taking it around with me, and I think it's getting old quite well. I like when decks get old, and you can see it on the edges and everything. It's just perfect for me. So that would be a priority choice if I'm going to the city, but there are other elements to take into account. If I know that I'm going to a museum, then I'm gonna get inspired by the artistic vibe as well, or the historic vibe. There are so many elements to take into account, seriously, but practicality. And if I'm going to the city, and I know for sure that I can only take one deck with me, my process is going to be much longer. Oh, that's another cool thing to explain. Another deck that I like to take with me on walks, it's the Outgrow Yourself Tarot and Oracle. I like it because it's direct and it doesn't sugarcoat anything. And sometimes it's just the way that ancestors or some places work, like they're not gonna be very cryptic, very like Oracle of Delphi thing or something. They're going to be like, take it or leave it, whatever. This deck is like that as well. So it's a nice companion on certain walk. And what I was saying, oh yes, sometimes it's a bit different with this deck because it's a Thoth based deck, and I don't work that much with the Thoth system. But what I'm gonna do, it's like when I'm doing a reading for somebody else, I'm just gonna ask the deck, do you want to come with me or not? It's a kind of yes or no question. So I have my cards that are in the yes category, the maybes or the no, but it's also gonna be very dependent on the picture. What's on the picture? Does it evoke something or not? Here we have failure. It's the 7 of Pentacles. In this case, with failure, I'm pretty sure that this deck doesn't want to come with me. But the oracular phrase is, you only fail when you stop trying. So maybe it would be, depending on the context, an invitation to push across my boundaries for the work or something. And in this case, if I'm contemplating some kind of hurdles or something, then it would be a nice choice. So very intuitive. I have rules, but also I prefer when there are no rules. I just feel the vibe of the deck that way, you know, asking the question, really. Debauch. 7 of Cups. 7 of Cups will typically be a no. 7s are usually maybes or no, or take your time, but it depends on so many other factors, and there are the rules, like cartomancy rules, and then there's the practice and the connection with the deck. Blah, 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 blah. So I worked what I'm going to do outside, the duration, the place, and so on. Yeah, if I'm going to a cafe, as I was saying, if I plan to walk 15 kilometers, obviously it's not going to be the same as if I'm just having a stroll in the neighborhood or things like that. But I'd rather have several decks if I'm going for a bigger walk, but then I would make sure to have the pockets that I need, maybe an extra bag. My butch makes some very, very lovely bags that I sometimes carry with me for my walks. I will try to have an image here. I think you get the gist of it, that it's impossible for me to have one everyday carry deck, because every day, every walk, every visit, there's a different vibe, and my decks must adjust to the vibes or be willing to accompany me for this vibe, or be willing to accompany me and surprise me as well. Sometimes it's just fine that way. Yeah, animistic way of doing tarot. It's not for everybody, but I'm just telling you what I'm doing. And oftentimes people tell me that I'm inspiring them in the way that they can go and experiment as well with tarot, and that's just fine. that's what I hope for. I don't mean that you have to believe that I'm totally sane and that it all makes sense. But if there's something that's inspiring you, it's just fine for me. So that I said. That as well. Oh, I also saw the reply to this VR by Laura of Outgrow that made me think of a couple of other things, and I don't have a lot of space left on my phone. I'm gonna try and be concise here. I very rarely read for others outside because of my EDS, or maybe just because of who I am. I'm often, when I'm outside, I'm in a state of overwhelm. There's the noise, I can deal with the noise, I can concentrate on what I'm saying if there's noise outside. So much, the energy of the interaction with somebody is already a lot. So what I tend to do in this case is more like a face-up reading. So sometimes I would adjust the choice of deck to the person that or the people that I'm going to be seeing that day, just in case. But I would rather either have them draw a card and then explain what I see in the card, but not like it's a reading. Nothing psychic or nothing divinatory, just have a conversation about it. Or I would practice tarot face up with them. They would choose a couple of cards, pick a couple of cards face up, and then we will discuss how it reflects their moods or their decision-making process or something at the moment. I would sometimes have some sort of psychic insights, but most of the time it's more of an informal discussion. So might influence the deck that I take with me, but I have the place in mind and what I'm going to do first and foremost. And my friends. It's kind of optional if it's gonna work for them or not. Depends. It depends. I know that in the summer I like to have a deck that's really multi-purpose, that's gonna work for that, and that's work for anything that might happen during the day, like Rainbow Tarot, for example. It's a perfect example. It always works for anything. At the moment, I'm not so much connected with it, but it's gonna come back, I know. You know, it depends on the season, obviously. If I'm working on a blog post, on a video, on a vlog or something like that, that will influence the decisions I make regarding the tarot that I take, and I'm more susceptible to be bringing more tarot decks with me in that situation. Like, oh, there's the deck for this and the deck for the video and the comparison process. Or maybe if I know that I'm gonna be making a video soon on, for example here, the Three of Cups, I will always have in my bag with me, in here, the Three of Cups from several decks. So I might write about them at some point, to just take pictures that are going to be useful when I'm going to be making the videos. Or maybe, you never know, I'll feel the inspiration, I'm being called to make the video somewhere, and I have them with me just in case. So it's also going to be a great factor to take into consideration when I take decks with me when I'm going out. More often than not, I have more than one deck with me. It's not rare that I have at least two. And if I know that I'm going for a smaller walk, but that I know that I'm going to be vibing with the plants and then I can have, like, yesterday when I went out, I think I have 4 decks with me. But I was working on the vlog. And also I had the intention to make pictures because the flowers were there and it was so pretty and it was so sunny, and the Venusian side of having tarot, the beautiful tarot, and how it interacts with the environment, with the ecosystems, it's just so precious. I have no time left on my phone, so I'm gonna say just abruptly goodbye. Thank you for listening to me. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm very sorry for my English. I know it's weird. Thank you if you're still there. Thank you for supporting me, and let me know if it's okay, if it's possible to understand